Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. And Chris, this is my channel. Absolute pleasure to have you with me here today. And we are continuing our post-MCM London Comic Con coverage, this time in this video looking at the G.I. Joe Classified series reveals that we got over the weekend. And for an exciting little change, I was there. I was actually present for these reveals. I was at the panel and I saw them in the cabinet afterwards. So as usual, for the regulars around these parts, you'll know I'm going to have a quick rundown of the renders that they shared, quick rundown of the name-only reveals that they shared, with a few quotes and stuff that I plucked out from the panel, he says, looking at his notes, just, to bring you up to speed and share some of my thoughts and commentary on what they were showing off. So let's not dilly-dally around and let's crack on with it. And just to make sure that everybody watching this is on the same page, the MCM London Comic Con took place this weekend, just gone, finished yesterday as of time of recording on the Sunday. Hasbro Pulse were there. They had a stand in the convention, in the exhibitor centre, and then they also did a panel on Saturday morning at, nearly lunchtime, actually, 11:45-ish, 11:30, 11:45, whatever. Anyway, it was around lunchtime on Saturday. They also did a panel, just like they do at other conventions, just like the NYCC and SDCC, etc., etc. All the main action brands were present and correct, so they did a little bit of stuff on G.I. Joe, did a little bit of stuff on Transformers, a little bit of stuff on Marvel Legends, a little bit of stuff on the Star Wars, the Black Series, and the TBC stuff. And that panel, in fact, was like, I live streamed it. I was there, I recorded it, and put it out at the time. So if you want to go watch and see all the stuff that they covered, then feel free to do so. You'll find it here on this channel. But I'm focusing in this video today specifically on the G.I. Joe Classified series stuff. And first on the list, we've got Crazy Legs here. The man himself. I think most of us pretty much knew that Crazy Legs was going to come along at some point or another in a retro card-backed form, just like they did with the Cobra Commander from the His Tank set. So we kind of knew that it was possibly on the cards. Obviously, we're all also keeping fingers firmly crossed for the likes of Wild Bill and the new Baroness book to make their way into the line as independent figures at some point, but we'll get to that one day when we get to that. Today we're talking about Crazy Legs. So we kind of knew he'd be coming in his core classic look deco, and of course here he is in his core classic look deco. So we got the red and grey colour scheme with the red kind of padded sections. Obviously got his what's it? A parachute gear. I forgot the word parachute for a minute there. So he's looking very, very vintage inspired, which we thought would be the case, using the book that they had in the HasLab and then bringing that over, the Dragonfly HasLab, and bringing that over into the main line. Well, not the main line, it's retro. And he's looking okay, he's looking good. The face has most definitely, the screaming face, it has been a bit of a Marmite element here. I've seen some folks across the socials really into it. I've seen some folks that's been like, oh man, he's not going to fit in, he's going to look stupid. I saw it all close, as a matter of fact. After the panel, they did actually have the demo figures in the cabinets. So if I jump to my next picture, there it is. You can see there kind of for realsies, not just in digital render, that screaming face. And it doesn't look too bad in real life in 3D plastic form. However, the expression obviously does, if you want to take some photographs or you're going for a particular scene that you're trying to create, I could understand why it might create you, a few issues or concerns. I was talking to my man Mark at the convention from Tat Tat Toys and sort of saying, I'm thinking that they've put this other head sculpt on so that it's still got some kind of value to people who've got the HasLab version of the figure who might consider passing on this if they've already, they might say, no, I'll stick with the Night Force one, he's fine with me. To say, well, yeah, but look at this great alternative head sculpt you could also get if you go in this classic look. I think maybe there's a bit of a marketing game going on here. But I can understand why it's controversial, but he's got loads of accessories. He's got the helmet and goggles and all that stuff. He has got the backpack. I don't know if you saw it. I'll flip back over in a minute. I don't know if you saw it. Then he's just got a nice little loadout, got his little dagger or a little knife, got his little handgun. I think this sort of submachine gun he's carrying, this is new in the line, isn't it? So, some of you folks keep a track of this a bit better than me because I don't pick up every single figure. But I think that's a new little submachine gun with an interesting look and vibe. I tell you what it reminds me of, that one that the kid has in RoboCop 2 that he makes out of his briefcase. Probably doesn't look like it at all, but that's what is triggering in my head. And then, of course, the foot stand, as per usual with the retro card back figures. So yeah, if I jump back over to the photo from the cabinet, you can see he's got his chute on his back there, and it's the same backpack again from the HasLab version. So interesting, some interesting choices there with regards to the head sculpt, but certainly not a surprise. I don't think, at some point over the next 12 months, we were anticipating that we might see some of the unique HasLab figures making their way into the line as independent sales figures. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. The one thing I will say, and maybe you can see this on the photo, is that some of this webbing, this parachute webbing that he's got across the front, his belts and straps and that, look a little plasticky. They got a little vibe of that color, that brownie color in the Valkyrie 2-pack, which I must admit stood out to me. When I was looking at it, I was like, "Whoa, kind of looks a bit toy on top of that sort of padded red textured look." But nonetheless, there he is, Crazy Legs. Let me know what your thoughts on the Screaming Head down below. But not a bad figure, and I think I'll probably go in on this guy. Yeah, I think so. Next up, then, we had the female Crimson Guard. Here's the official digital render that did the rounds. So you can see, it's Crimson Guard uniform, Crimson Guard helmet, but she's got some boobs and a bit of an ass on it. Some hips, you know what I mean? The loadout is almost exactly the same, I think, as the retro. I should have checked before I spoke on a hot mic, but this little the rifle with the bayonet, the pistol, the ceremonial style sword, the sort of machete dagger thing, the hand swaps, I believe, and of course the foot stand. I believe all of that was included with the retro deco Crimson Guard, which I actually happen to have out because I was playing around with some of my army builders earlier today. The helmet, so they've gone with the silver faceplate. My man Rob asked me over on X, what's the colour scheme look like? And, sort of the chatter was around the cabinet that this is the retro deco. So the red and the silver on it will match with the retro card back Crimson Guard, which I think is slightly lighter, or is this the darker one? Hang on. Yeah, the main line is the darker red. The retro is the lighter red. You guys probably knew that without me having to go wandering over to my shelf. I made a little army builder Cobra Trooper display. Regulars around these parts will know that one of the things I'm quite often saying is I'd like to see more female characters in G.I. Joe Classified series, and while this isn't a unique named character, and we could do with some more unique named characters, more on that in a little bit, but despite that, it's still good to see some more kind of female stuff going on. I was, again, talking to my man, Mark, while we were hanging out together at the convention. Again, go check out Tap Tap with Toys. I'll pop a link to his channels down below. But I was remembering the storyline from the Action Force comics where there were two Crimson Guards that were trying to blow up the Eiffel Tower. And one of the Crimson Guards was male and one of the Crimson Guards was female. And I was sort of saying to him, she had brown hair. And I'm thinking now who the head swap might be. But you know what? If you want to do your, wasn't there an episode where Lady J disguised herself as a Crimson Guard? If you want to do that, you can hopefully do a head swap. The Lady J's got an older peg though, so we'll see how that pans out. Or the one my man Matt was talking about the other day with the blonde hair from the Larry Hammer series. So there's lots you could do with this, but if nothing else, a nice lovely bit of gender diversity across the Cobra army builder ranks. They did have in the cabinet. Here's the picky that I took, my really awful picky Lenny in the background there. I was literally taking the photos as he was placing the figures in the cabinet because we obviously all walked back over to the Hasbro stand after they said in the panel we're going to put them in the cabinet. And one of the things that somebody else asked me, I can't remember where it was, maybe on Discord, maybe in my comments, was about the backpack, because the backpack's not in the digital render. Yes, she does indeed have the backpack. You can see it on the demo figure there and in the blister pack on the card in the background. So yeah, we know that the backpack is there for sure. And next up then we had one for the OG13 fans. They revealed Zap again on retro card back, interestingly enough. So it's standard OG13 stuff, the green uniform with the brown trimmings, got a very classic looking, a proper classic OG13 style helmet there. Which is fine. He's got the cartoon laser rifle, his bazooka, he's got his handgun, it's all good stuff. Lenny did mention that the bazooka telescopes, that it telescopes out, which I think is interesting. And this, of course, is a whole brand new piece of kit in the line as well, so the bazooka looks pretty sweet, unless it's been with one of the other OG13 figures and I've just not been paying enough attention, which is possible because I haven't picked up any of the OG13 stuff in 6-inch. Got your Yojo hand swaps in there, absolute must, particularly with an OG13, and then his head sculpt's pretty sweet, actually. I like his head sculpt. Not enough to sway me, though. I mean, regulars around these parts know that I find the OG13 stuff in Classified a bit boring. I'd like to see, or prefer to see, if it's heavily vintage inspired, at least a bit of an upgrade or some depth added to the character. But in fact, I would love to see a reinterpretation of characters like Zap. And this just is a bit bland for me, a bit boring. But I know that there's loads of people out there very, very eager to have their 6-inch form OG13 displays. So this will be obviously very popular with those members of the community who are into this stuff. I did take a picture of him in the cabinet, but it's a bit rubbish because I got it from a bad angle and he's just got his bazooka in front of his face. It was sort of badly mounted on his shoulder. I do like that they've lined him up with the card artwork there, with the way that they put him in the display. But he looks fine. He's got all the standard G.I. Joe Classified series articulation. The bazooka's cool. His face is cool. I've gone for a proper classic helmet look, which is interesting because there's been a few of the helmets have been at least a little bit modernized as well, haven't they? Well, I suppose adds a little bit of variety to that sort of OG13 style display. But yeah, it's just not classified enough for me. I think Zap will be a pass around these parts. We'll not be having a Zap delivered to MoDXtra Games and Collectibles Towers. So there is render reveals, but not really render reveals because I had the figures on display in the cabinet, which was really awesome to see. These are all going up for pre-order on the 4th of November, folks, on the 4th of November. And then they were saying, where all good toys are sold, blah, blah, blah. And they quoted, I think, 6 p.m. UK time. So it's the usual 1 p.m. East Coast US, 6 p.m. Our side of the ocean. But I'm sure there'll be folks out there spreading the word on the day. Don't forget, that kind of thing. But yeah, going up for pre-order on the 4th of November. So yeah, they're really far along. And I suspect then that just like that mainline wave that we just had at New York Comic Con, we'll probably see them ship maybe spring next year. But they weren't done there. They did a little recap on the weird collar thing that they teased at New York Comic Con, and a bit of a recap on Pythona and stuff as well during the panel. I'll reiterate, you can go watch the whole panel if you're interested. I streamed it live at the time. But they did give us a few name-only pipeline reveals. They started by talking about Red Dog and Taurus, which we knew about. I don't know if they forgot that they'd already officially name-only revealed these. At least I think they did. I've known they've been on the list for some time nonetheless. But a 2-pack, going to get that movie Renegades lineup rounded off to go with the Mercer that we've had this year. But yeah, they didn't say a great deal other than the fact that apparently Taurus's beard is magnificent. That's all I got for you, folks. So they revisited this one, but we knew this was on the cards. However, in the new stuff, they told us about the Hydro Viper. Yeah, good, classic, out there, crazy Cobra army builder. I know that some of you folks watch my channel, or have done for a little while. You'll know that I have a personal rule. Well, there's 2 personal rules: no repeat characters and no divers. I've already broken the no repeat characters. I now have 2 Flints, 2 Falcons, 2 Sergeant Slaughters, 2 Crimson Guards. And I think the Hydro Viper might be the one that leads me to break my no divers rule. Because as silly as I think divers look, stood on on my spice rack display up there, I had a Hydro Viper as a kid, and it's just my kind of balmy, wacky, out there design. I can't wait to see what they do with that mental helmet of his. Pretty thin on the ground in terms of info. They just said Hydro Viper's coming. They mentioned in the kind of blurb that it will come with its iconic knife, but no mention of the ray. What was it? A Devil Ray, Manta Ray, something that came with the OG vintage figure. But yeah, can't wait to see what they do with that purple and red and orangey colour scheme. Can't wait to see what they do with that helmet. Very, very excited. This could be the one that breaks the no diver rule streak here at MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. I'll just not put the flippers on him or something. If I get him, I'm going to have to get a wetsuit. Wetsuit's knocking around here in the UK. There's a couple of stores got to be in stock. Maybe, oh no, what's happening? Damn you, Hasbro. We'll see. But yeah, really excited. I'm buzzed about this one, as I said before, because I had one when I was a kid. I had this figure when I was a kid, and I played with it loads and loads and loads. So yeah, let's see what they do with this one. And then next on the list, we had Zanya. They named Zanya, but they had a very interesting little kind of note on this one. Again, it was just name only, so it was just a little bit of kind of salesy blurb that BMAC had written up and sent over with Emily. And they said, and I quote, just checking my notes, "But it's not just her, though. More to reveal yet. Big news for 2026. Which, could be implying all sorts of stuff. Could be implying that Zanya comes with a vehicle, or that Zanya comes in a 2-pack. Big news for 2026. There's a lot of people eagerly anticipating a Thunder Machine. Is that the next HasLab? Is that a little nudge, wink towards a Thunder Machine HasLab with a Thrasher and a Zanya in the figure selection? Who knows? Maybe part of a 2-pack with Heart Wrencher or something. Or who else are we missing? We've not had a Zanzibar, for example. Not sure, but you get your guesses in the comments down below. I will tell you straight up that while informally off camera, and I nudged to find out, and they were not giving up that ground. I'll talk about new product. But yeah, big, not just her, more to reveal, big news for 2026. So chew that over and let me know your guesses or your hopes, dreams and desires about that in the comments down below. But as I mentioned before, some more female characters, which is excellent to see. Great to have some more female characters. Zorana needs some backup in the team. And then last, but by no means least, the final name only reveal was Ninja Force Zartan. Thanks again to yojo.com. Make sure you visit yojo.com. This is a figure picky that I've taken off their website, so make sure you make good use of that tremendous resource that it is over there. But yeah, they didn't say much. Bit of chatter about, how subtle a ninja is he with his orange mohawk and his lime green pants and the chains hanging off his leather vest there. So, a bit of banter, a bit of laughs. But there was one sentence that they mentioned when they were talking about Zartan Ninja Force. Again, Emily was reading off a bit of script that BMAC had written for her. We're going to need some more Ninja Force Joes, right? We'll have to wait and see on them. So, heavily implying, dropping some hints there towards, hopefully, the likes of, Chibang, Banzai, folks like that. Maybe a Ninja Force Scarlet, that'd be lovely to see. Who knows, let's wait and see what comes, but there you go, there's your next name-only reveal on the list. And there we go, folks, that was it. That was the MCM London Comic Con panel, and then the figures that were shown in the cabinet on the day. Quick reminder then, so 4th of November for the pre-orders on the female Crimson Guard, Crazy Legs, and Zap on the retro card back line there, so keep your eye out for that. And then they were just sort of saying that there's more to come in Italy at the Luca event. So keep your eyes peeled for any information coming out of Italy on that. I'll not be heading over to that one. I've already been to Italy once this year. So, Brill, as always, folks, really interested to hear what you've got to say. So drop into the comments down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on the render reveals. Well, not just render reveals, on the in-hand reveals and the new pre-orders and on the name-only reveals. Give me your guesses around what they might be hinting at with Zanya, who's your most desired outstanding Ninja Force member, all that good stuff. But all that remains to say is thanks for watching, thanks for coming and hanging out. I hope you'll come back again for another video sometime soon, but have yourselves a great day, and I'll catch you next time, all right? See you later, folks.